Good to be with you today. Thanks for joining us. Well, the Pharisees and the Herodians went after Jesus, and he pretty well put them in their place. But now there's one more group that hates him, and these are the Sadducees. Most of the Jewish priests were Sadducees, and they were very powerful politically. They really didn't believe much. For example, they only believed that the Bible ought to be the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They didn't believe that anything else belonged in the Bible. They didn't believe in angels. They didn't believe in miracles. And they didn't believe in the resurrection from the dead. Now, the way to remember that a Sadducee doesn't believe the resurrection is if you don't believe in the resurrection. That's sad, you see. It's a good way to remember that. All right. Well, anyway, so they've got this little trick they want to play on Jesus. The Bible clearly says there's a resurrection, but like the prophet Daniel, well, they didn't believe that the book of Daniel belonged. And Daniel 12:2 says, many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. So if they just believed the Bible, they would believe the resurrection. So they come to Jesus, and there's a law, it's called levirate marriage, that if a man dies before he fathers children, that the closest relative is supposed to marry that guy's wife and father children, through that wife, so that the family name will go on. And they come to him and they say, Moses says if a man dies and didn't have children, next of kin marry his wife, raise up children. This man dies and his brother marries the woman, and then he dies, and then the next brother marries the woman, and all the way to the 7th brother, they all die. If I was about brother number 4, I would get out of town and avoid that woman. So it's a really silly, ridiculous story. And they said, now, in the resurrection, which they didn't believe in, whose wife would she be? In other words, obviously there's not a resurrection. And Jesus said, y'all are wrong. You err because you don't understand the scriptures or the power of God. He said, first of all, in the resurrection, you don't get married. You have an everlasting existence. There's no need to have the next generation to keep your name going. You'll be like the angels in heaven. You don't become an angel when you die. You become a human being bought with the blood of Jesus Christ when you get saved, and that's what you remain, but you get an everlasting body, but you don't become an angel. But you do have that everlasting, incorruptible existence like an angel has. But then he also said, and in the resurrection, God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Now remember, they only believed in the first 5 books of the Bible, so he said, okay, I'll quote one of those for you. Exodus. In the call of Moses, in Exodus, the Lord said, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of the living, not the God of the dead. And in John chapter 8, speaking of resurrection and people going into the presence of God, he said, Abraham, from 2,000 years before, Abraham rejoiced to see my day. 2,000 years later, Abraham rejoicing over the day of Christ. There is a resurrection, and there's a resurrection body for a believer. And I would like for mine to be 6'4". God bless you. Have a great day.